far, as we've brought you every episode this far. It's been amazing, just the response and the very good comments that we've been receiving from people. Thank you all so much for being a part of our comeback on social media, actually, this time. It's a great format for us, and thank God that we're able to use technology to enhance people's lives and make people's lives better. So while we wait till 7 o'clock when we kick off formally, I'm going to invite you to start coming in and joining us on the show today. As we always do, just let me know once you get in here, let me know that you're here so that we can begin to say hello and see what your day has been like. So if you're here, indicate, say hello, show me that you're here, do something that helps me know that you've joined us for our episode today. If you had joined us yesterday, we talked about dealing with domestic violence. And today we're going a step further and we're sharing experiences today. So if you're here, let me know. Let me know that you're here. Say hi. I see that people are beginning to join us. So let me know that you're here. Say something. We've got 2 more minutes to have guests join us on the show. We kick off, as you know by now, we kick off at 7 on the dot and we begin to have our guests on. So if you're joining us, wherever you're joining us from, do say hello. And I would love to hear what your day has been like within the next 2 minutes before we kick the show itself off. I loved the fact that people were able to send in comments and questions yesterday on the episode we had. It was so delightful to have our experts share with us from their experiences, the things that they have seen as experts in that field of helping people have respite when they have challenges, being abused or find themselves in relationships that have made it so difficult for them to live their normal lives. Hello from Nigeria, Ice Water. Ooh, hello. How are you? Well, I hope you're not drinking ice water in this Corona times. You should be drinking warm water. But it's great to have you join us all the way from Nigeria, Ice Water. Thank you for saying hello. It's good to see you. I see that people are linking in. We have a number of people have connected with us. It's great to see you all join us here. Say hello, say something. How was your day, Ice Water? I hope it was really good. I hope it was cool. I hope you've had a cool day and that you're self-isolating and keeping social distancing. I hope that things are going well for you wherever you're at. So thank you for joining us. In about 30 seconds, we'll be kicking off formally. AC Matilda, how are you as well? Hello, it's great to see you on the show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Yes, so we start off formally. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sharing with Yemi. Today, Wednesday, the 1st of April. And I don't know if you all noticed, but interestingly, this is the first time in perhaps forever that nobody actually said April Fool. I don't know if anybody said April Fool to you today, but nobody said April Fool to me. You know that those tricks we play when it's the 1st of April and they go, April Fool. Nobody did that today. I think it's because of the situation we're all in. Nothing has fooled us all more than this coronavirus. It's put us all in a place where we're still struggling to get our heads around it. It's a really, really difficult one, but God is in control. Nothing beyond God. And so this is no April Fool. This is real. We're back to you on Sharing with Yemi. And on the episode today, if you joined us yesterday, we discussed dealing with domestic violence. And we had our experts in the house. We had Bernie Kieran from the Meath Women's Refuge. And we also had the director of Project Alert in Africa and Nigeria, Josephine Efachukuma, sharing with us their wealth of knowledge and experience. And today is part 2 of that episode. Today, we have individuals who have, at one stage or the other in their lives, experienced some form of abuse. Across the globe, about 1/3 of women in different parts of the world who have been in one relationship or the other have experienced perhaps a physical or sexual abuse by somebody who is close to them. And it's usually somebody they know so well. And statistics show that about 38% of women across the globe who were actually killed by male intimate partners, somebody who was really close to them. If they had the chance to come back and say, this is the person who murdered me, they would have been able to tell you who that person was as being a male intimate partner. And yesterday we did agree that domestic violence is not just restricted to women. Men also suffer and they get abused as well. And it's not something that we should take for granted or take lightly. We also want to be able to give men the chance to step out and speak of their experiences so that nobody feels, oh, this is not a space for me, or I can't talk about it. We're all here to learn. And so it's my honor and pleasure to welcome my guests on the show today who will be sharing their experiences with us. I'm going to start from somebody perhaps that you all know, or most of you might know very well. She is an advocate. She's been advocating for women for a number of years. And I suppose from her experience, she set up an organization that has supported women far and near, especially in Nigeria, and has reached out to a lot of women, a number of women across the globe as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to have joining me on the show today, Mercy Makinde, who is the founder of Amazing Amazon. Mercy, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening.
I was saying to you, was it yesterday or so, that I don't even know what to call you now. You're an Amazon and you're now a Shiro.
Yes, Shiro.
So you are amazing,
Jane
Amazonian
Shiro.
Shiro.
Exactly.
An Amazonian Shiro, that's your new
Yeah,
title.
that sounds
It's,
great. Yeah.
that sounds great, doesn't it? And that
Yeah,
makes
it
you
sure
really
does.
unique. So you are the only Amazonian Shiro we have so far.
Oh, wow.
It's
Such a
great to have
privilege.
you on the show today. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for agreeing to share of your experience with us today. I
Oh,
know I've heard your story before. I know that there's a lot to share. And let's start off with you telling us in just 30 seconds why you started Amazing Amazon. Just 30 seconds. Really, actually, what I would love you to do is just tell us about you, really, in 30
oh.
seconds, or if possible, 30 seconds.
Yeah, what made me start is exactly what you said, my experience. And I don't want any woman around me to go through the same thing I went through. And that inspired my starting Amazing Amazon to help them not to suffer the same things I suffered.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us today. Also joining us is a lawyer, a lady who has advocated for so many women in Nigeria. And she also has been a victim of domestic violence and is here to share experience with us today. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome Taiwo Olushesi. You're welcome, Taiwo Olushesi. Can you hear me, Taiwo Olushesi?
Thank you very much. Good evening. I hope
Good
you are
evening. It's great
keeping
to
safe.
we're
Yes,
keeping
I can
safe.
hear you very well.
We're doing our best and we're keeping
Yes.
safe
Good
and
evening.
we're in self-isolation here in Ireland. It's good to have you with us
That's very
today.
good.
Yeah. I know that it's a bit dark where you are because, of course, we know the life situation in Nigeria, but we're delighted to still have you. We can see your face,
Yeah.
a portion of your face, and we can hear your voice. So that still works for us. Thank you for being on the show today. Tell us a
Thank you
little
very
bit
much
about
for having me.
yourself. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself in about 30 seconds. Who is Taiwo Olushisi?
Thank you very much. Like you said, ma'am, I'm a lawyer. Well, I used to be based in Ijebu until recently I got an appointment and moved to Lagos. But I've been advocating for women. It was born out of a personal experience that I also had my first marriage. And I
Mm,
decided to start advocating for women, not because I suffered domestic violence, but because I felt, oh, if I could survive it and then become somebody today, I should also help other women who have been in that situation to also know that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
very good, very good. So you do bring hope to a number of women across the globe.
I've been trying.
Well done, and we really appreciate that. Thank you for being a part of the
Thank you.
show today. I'm going to introduce my third guest. We're going to have conversations once I've introduced him. Like I said, it's not just women who suffer abuse, men do as well. And my third guest is a man, somebody who has also had experience in his marriage. He will tell us a bit more about that as we go on in the show. But first of all, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome Pastor Larry Ovie. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Pastor Larry.
It's a pleasure, Yemi, to being in your show today. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us very quickly, who is Larry Ovie?
Well, Pastor Larry Ovie, as you know, he's been pastoring for over 20 years, living in Ireland. I'm an entrepreneur, and just like you said, I have two relationships. The first one, and if a little bit of it, we could talk about it. And thank God having a blossom relationship right now, and I'm enjoying everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show today. The one thing that I see that connects the three of you, one thing that I see that you all have as a similarity is the fact that you've been in one relationship before and now you are in a different relationship. Am I right in saying that for the three of you?
Yes, you're right.
So,
wow.
What that is saying to me then is that because you're in an abusive relationship, that does not mean then that you're going to have to stay there and die in there, because a number of people lose their lives. About 38% of women globally are killed by somebody they've been intimate with. So what that is saying to me, and perhaps to everyone who's listening, is that because somebody is being abusive does not mean you stay there and die there. Am I right in saying that? I'll come to you, Mercy. Am I right in saying that?
100%, you were right.
You're very correct.
A lot of women believe that when they're in an abusive relationship, there's really no hope out there. So there's a question of who will marry me? How can I move forward in my life? What will people say? So those are the things that really keep them there, and then at the end of the day, ends up killing them. But if they're confident that, look, being single is not a ticket to heaven, and if another marriage happens, fine, all well and good. So you can make do with another marriage. If it doesn't happen, you're still complete. You're still a whole being, even without another partner. And then it will be easier. And then, coming to the issue of victimization and stigmatization, I'm sure we'll have questions in that regard, because that's a major factor that keeps them in those kind of abusive relationships.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I'm going to encourage people to, if you have questions, please begin to send in your questions so that when we get to the stage of asking the questions, we can ask our guests today the questions. So I would love you guys to share your stories with us first. How you got here to this stage where you're actually advocating and you're supporting people who are suffering in their relationships. I will start with you, Taiwo. Share your story with us in a nutshell, how you had your experience and how you were able to come out of it.
Yes, I would say basically it was just providence. Providence in the sense that I didn't have anything that could help me to leave my abusive relationship. I didn't have the financial independence. I didn't have the willpower. I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the support of people. So basically, it was just providence that took me out of that situation. I was in it for almost 4 years. I had 3 kids in between. I was in the university. And what happened was that it was time for me to go to law school, and then all hell broke loose. And let me just say, I just got delivered, and I decided to move on. So many stories that 1 hour will not be enough for me to cover. So let me just cut it short and say that after I left university and I was divorced with 3 toddlers, I now realized that, the first thing for me to do is to get back on my feet and start living for my children. I decided to chart a course for myself. I decided that rather than doing the real lawyer work, let me just get an office job so that I can get salaried employment and be able to fend for my children. And then that was how I started. And I got the job. And on the job, I told myself, I think I need to advance in my career. And that was the deal breaker for me. I never looked back. I never looked back. I was like challenging myself. I was like, I had this kind of you know, challenge in front of me, and I just had to scale the hurdle. I knew there was nobody, and I knew people were looking at that. Okay, what is going to achieve? After all, she is now a single mother of 3 children. So
Wow.
basically,
So tell
I,
us,
I was, I,
let me take you one step back a bit, Taiwo. What
yeah,
exactly, if you tell us in a nutshell, what exactly were the challenges you were facing in that relationship? Was it physical? Was it mental?
physical and mental. And then sometimes, like when I had my program last year, we had to focus on the aspect of the abuser as being a victim himself or herself. Sometimes in Nigeria, we don't really look at the mental health of people. We,
Mm.
if we look at it, we realize that even some of these people who are the abusers are sometimes victims of, something must have happened to them when they were growing up, and something just sparked, and that's how this vicious cycle just continues. Imagine a child
Wow.
that grew up in a home where the father was always battering the mom, where violence was always everywhere. Such a child will grow up to be an abusive partner, and then
That's
whoever
what they
ends
grow
up
to
marrying
learn.
that person also continues in that line as well. I think that was one of my own challenges. And
Wow.
yes, I know I'm live. I wouldn't want to hurt some very good people, so I wouldn't want to go into so many details. Do you
I
know that
totally
yeah,
understand. Yes.
yes, yes.
Yes.
So let me
So
just say that
Mercy.
basically we were both victims of something one way or the other, and we were
Yeah.
young, and we couldn't just handle it.
Wow.
And when I left, I moved on, and to God be the glory. I told myself I will find love again, and I'm not
And
going
you
to
did.
be I'm not going to be bitter for life. And so I did after some years. So let me say,
Thank God for that.
for women out there, women need support. If you don't have the
Mm.
financial independence, if you don't have the emotional support, if you don't have the spiritual support, it is always very difficult for a woman to live an abusive relationship, unless we want to deceive ourselves. Financial,
Wow.
moral, emotional, spiritual support, very, very important for a woman in any relationship.
Wow.
It's very difficult to live a violent relationship, because you look at the stigmatization, you look at the financial aspect of how am I going to cope with children, how do I fend for my needs, and stuff like that. And what will people say? These are the things that keep women in relationships. And what I've always advocated for women is just take that step first. Leave that relationship. If this man dies, you will leave. So why are you why are
Mm.
you why are you, putting yourself in unnecessary bondage? But then it's
Wow.
difficult
Thank
if you
you
are not.
so much for sharing all that. Thank you so, so much. I mean, I'll take it from the point where you ended there, that it can be very challenging to leave the relationship, especially where there's no support. Mercy, you also had a very challenging relationship in your first marriage. Tell us a
Yeah.
bit about that.
Okay, so in my own case, my dad gave me out when I was 18. I was just 18, going to the university. He gave me out
Wow.
to a man older than himself. So my
Older,
husband at
so a
that
man
time,
older. Wow.
older than my dad himself.
Why,
So
why did he do that? Do you know why your dad did that?
I don't know. Sometimes I sit back now and think about it. Maybe, perhaps, he was looking for a better future for me. I don't know. Or maybe
Hmm.
it could have been out of his own greed. He wanted money. I don't know. But sometimes I just think about it and say maybe he just thought I might have a better life there.
Hmm.
Maybe. I really can't say. I don't know what was going on in his mind then, but the man was older than my dad. And so it clearly was a master servant relationship. There's no way we could have been operating at the same frequency. There was no way we could be relating like husband and wife, because I was still a teenager and he was almost 50. And unfortunately, in addition to all of these factors, he was very insecure. And as a result of the insecurity, he was very abusive. And when I talk about abuse, I'm talking about physical abuse, I'm talking about verbal abuse, emotional abuse, even social abuse, because he won't let me socialize with anybody. I couldn't even visit my parents. He has to go with me so that I don't
Wow.
end up telling them the things he believes I would tell them. Maybe the things he's doing to me. Perhaps the only abuse I didn't suffer was spiritual abuse. Financial abuse, of course, I suffered financial abuse because I wasn't working. I didn't have a business. So I didn't have any money of my own. I had to depend on him 100%. So he bought everything I needed or had to use. I didn't even have needs. He supplied whatever he thinks I needed at that time. So I couldn't
Wow.
say, oh, I don't want red, I want white, or I don't like yellow, I want orange. There was no option. So whatever he provides, whether it's my clothes, food, I eat what he wants me to eat. I drink what he wants me to drink when he wants me to drink it, because he was a total control freak. And it was just all of that kind of way. So that's why I use the phrase a master servant relationship initially, so you can have a total picture. So it wasn't like a guy meets a girl, they fall in love, and then they start a relationship and it didn't work out. It wasn't anything close to that. It was just me looking like someone that's been bought off my dad, and I was I was his one of his furniture. Let's just put it that way. And that went on for 11 years. And in those 11
11
years,
years.
yes, 11 years.
Wow.
One thing I'm really proud of myself that I was able to do in those 11 years was to get a degree. So, without saying much, you can imagine the problem, the trouble, the horror I went through to get a degree. Going to school was traumatic for me. He wouldn't give me transport money to take a bus to Unilag from GRA. Sometimes I have to stop lifts to get to school. Sometimes I have to beg money from Malam selling cola and the tom tom on our streets to get transport fare to get to school. But I was determined to get that degree, so I didn't care what it took. I had to do everything possible to get to school. When I get to school, I'll get a lift back from maybe other students that live around my area, and wherever they drop me, I'll trek the rest home. I've even been attacked by armed robbers on one of those kind of trips, like waiting
Wow.
for a car in Anthony bus stop, and all these pickpockets, they snatch my bag and then they threaten me with a gun that if I yell, they would shoot me. So I've seen a lot, in those 4 years in Unilag, but I was prepared for it. I'd already made up my mind that whatever it takes, I'll get this degree. And those are part of the reason why I had the confidence to leave at the end of the day, because I was so sure that with a degree in my hand, the sky is my limit, the world's at my feet. Once I have a degree, I'll be able to get a job. So when I got my first job, October 2nd, by October 19, he beat me up again. And that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. I just told myself, I'm not taking this anymore. With this job, even though I don't have my salary yet, I'm sure I'll get a salary and I'm sure this will sustain me. So that takes me back to what we talked about, Amazing Amazon. Why did I start Amazing Amazon? Having looked at the situation of a lot of women, that they're there because of financial incapacity, they're not financially independent, so they don't have anywhere to go, or they don't have any way to sustain themselves and their children. And that's why a lot of them stay back to enjoy, to suffer and endure this kind of marriages. And that's why I am focused on empowering women. That's the main focus of our NGO, Amazing Amazon Initiative. Everything we do is to make sure that the woman can sustain herself and doesn't need to die in a violent relationship just because she cannot put food on her table.
Wow, that for you must have been 11 traumatic years.
Definitely.
How you got the strength and the energy and the willpower to even decide to go to school. I reckon that must have been something divine. It
Yeah,
wasn't something of yourself, because it would have been
absolutely.
very difficult to even decide on your own to do that.
Yeah, it was. I had to do that because I couldn't get help from anywhere. So I go to my dad. He tells me, "Look, there's no divorcee in our family, and you will not be the first. So you have to go back." The church will not help because they say, "Oh, you are not submissive. You have to submit to your husband." We go to the police station once in a while I was there. They send me back, like, "Go home and settle with your husband. We don't come here. We don't settle domestic violence issues here." So when I looked around, the government couldn't help. The government institutions, they couldn't help. My family couldn't help. The church couldn't help. I realized that I was all by myself. And I knew that the only way to survive all of this was to get myself financially empowered. And I knew I couldn't get a job without a degree. So that was why I've jumped fences to go to school. He's come to the Unilag to embarrass me a couple of times. He's torn my notes, seized my books, but it didn't matter to me. I was too focused to notice everything he was doing at that point, because I was just
Wow.
focused. My eyes were just on the ball. My eyes on what I was trying to achieve to get a degree. I think all that made it possible for me to get that degree at that time.
That's the powerful thing that we're going to come back to. And it boils down to the issue of support that Taiwo mentioned earlier on, that when support isn't there, it becomes a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But determination also plays a key role.
Yeah.
So that maybe could be the solution to where there's no support. I'm going to come to Pastor Larry now and take Pastor Larry's experience, and then we begin to take questions from the audience and take questions from ourselves, amongst ourselves there. Pastor Larry, share your experience with us in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Yemi, for having me, and thank Mercy so much for sharing those thoughts, and Taiwo as well. I say this here, like how we say, Many of us, men, women, we all go through this abuse without, if some of us don't even know when we are going through these abuses. Myself, I started a relationship far back in 1995. The issue Mercy was talking about there was not in my own issue. And I know very well there are many men who are good men out there who really support their family, support their wives, they support the women they call, they marry. But all of a sudden, things might just go wrong, or the other partner, be a female or male, did not have the right notion. Like in my own case, I would just go straight to the point. I was supportive in every area. I was in the relationship for so many years, have two beautiful kids, and I was doing everything to make sure that it works.
From that relationship.
From that relationship. From that relationship. And money was not the issue at all. Even when we came into Ireland, it was not money. Money was not the issue. I was supporting everything that I could do to support. But I'll be honest with you, I started going through this abuse emotionally, myself as a man. I'll be honest with you, in the house, when a man begin to feel very, how will I use the word so that you don't try to hurt other people who are out there. You become very less because of the things that is happening within you. You feel belittled.
You feel less of a man.
Yes. There are so many men who are going through these things as I'm sharing with you now. And this type of abuse emotionally breaks you down. And as a man, you don't feel that you are man enough, even when you are doing all the things that you are doing. And before I know what is happening, my own case, being a pastor, it was a big stigma. Just imagine a pastor going through this type of challenge. What you have.
Were you a pastor already at the time?
Oh, well, before the challenges I had before I got divorced, I was already a pastor here in Ireland.
Wow.
And
so
at the end,
several pastors who are actually
experiencing. Oh, I say this to you, Yemi.
And they're not talking about it.
I say this to you, Yemi. I became a point of call to so many pastors and people who are Christians who have been going through this type of abuse from women as well. I say that there are so many men who are going through this emotional torture that cannot come out in the open to share with you what they are going through, either because of their status or any way that you can think it. Myself, I was in that position. And every man knows that one of the greatest things you can do against any man is to defy the bed for the man. As soon as a woman crosses that line, it's a red line, and you make the man to begin to look himself as worthless. And this is happening on a daily basis. And I'll be honest with you, there are men who have come to me to ask me, Pastor, how can we have something put together for men? That because in this time, I'll be honest with you, mostly in Europe, men are more abused than women right now.
Wow.
I can tell you that straight. I can give you facts. I can give you figure. Men are in their house incapacitated because of how things are run within the confines of this place. So most times,
mainly a lot of it is emotional.
Emotional.
Less of a man.
Less of a man. And that is really comes out of a lack of trust. You see, when the trust is broken, the relationship is gone. And in my own case, I can remember very clearly when my ex said to me that she has moved on, it was like my world has come to an end. I'll be honest with you, if I was not a pastor, if I was an ordinary man who don't have a faith, you'll be shocked that I might just take a rational decision. And God forbid, I love my kids so much. My children, I love them so much. The torture for that 2 years, for not even being with them or seeing them regularly the way I used to be, I cannot know how I overcame it. And many men are in this type of situation. So what I want to just say generally is that we need to look to the nitty-gritties, how these things get to that place where either the man or the woman is going through abuse in any relationship that you must have find yourself. So every one of them has different merit, and we should judge every situation differently. So in my own case, I thank God that as soon as I made up my mind, I decided, listen, I'm not going to die in this situation. I have to remarry because I'm somebody who loves family. I love children. And because of that, I went and I remarried to 2012 tentatively. And to the glory of God, since that time till now, God has blessed us again with 2 beautiful kids. And I have my family back. And I'm so grateful to God that I took that decision. And without that, as I speak with you, life could have been miserable. And many men are out there, like I say to you, who are going through the same thing right now, Yemi. And I'm using this opportunity to encourage them. If you are a man and you are going through an abusive relationship and you don't have no place to turn to, there is no need for you to die in there. Because I say this to you, if you die, the life will continue. Those persons that you are trying to see or protect and so on, life will still move on. So, and to the glory of God, I want to just use the opportunity to thank you for hosting this wonderful and important program to help family. There are a lot of things that need to be uncovered for every one of us to enjoy a peaceful home. Every one of us desire a peaceful home. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that very touching experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people will really not understand when you hear that men also go through abuse. People don't understand it. People don't understand that a lot of the times it's emotional and men lose their confidence. And I know my husband always says something, that a man who is really a man is a man who has gotten confidence. And it's never about money. He always emphasizes that it's not about money. It's about a man who truly knows his position and doesn't have to prove it. No. And so when that is taken from a man, and I can understand then that it makes a man feel so much less a man.
What less?
I want to bring the question to you, right? Yeah. And this is one about what you said about remarrying. You were already a pastor, and then you went through that trauma and you remarried. A lot of Christians will frown against that and say, no, once your divorce stands, you have to stay divorced forever and you can't remarry, more so that you're a pastor. How would you address this? And people still say this today.
I said this, Yemi, if they want, you see, many people has been misled with theology. And I want every one of them who is a Christian to read their Bible over and over again. There are prerequisites. Even our Lord Jesus laid it so straight. He said, for this reason, you can give a certificate of divorce. And if that happened in your case and the certificate has been issued, the Bible still makes us to understand, even as a pastor, he said, if you cannot pastor on your own without marrying, and if not marrying will make you to fall into adultery, you must remarry. So if I don't know where they get their theology from, but I'm saying it to you, if you are going through an abusive relationship and it's because of what you have been told, that because of this you cannot remarry, I want to tell you to rethink. If you die in that relationship, you might be shocked that you will not make it to heaven, because your heart alone in here is already committing sin without you knowing it. You need to have clarity of mind to be able to continue with the life that you live. This sometimes really breaks my heart. So, and I want to say to everyone who is on the sound of my voice, who has been mistaught in one way or the other. I went to a theology school, so I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes theology has misled so many people. Facts and figure is so important. When you are not in the situation, it's difficult for you to relate to the situation. So, and I say to everyone who is facing the same challenge, out there, be you a man and you are suffering, marital problem, mostly when it comes to sexual immorality and infidelity and all that, is so strong. Can I say this to you, Yemi? One thing that I know that is very difficult to swallow, it doesn't matter who you are, be you a bishop, a pastor, is sexual immorality. When a woman defiles your bed, It is easier said than done than to say, well, I've forgiven and I've moved on.
Well, I guess
It
that
leaves what
cuts
to call
across
an
both
emotional
ways.
scar in your heart.
Yeah. It
And
cuts
that is
across
what
both
happened.
ways, Pastor Larry. It
Yes,
cuts
it's
across
two,
for the man and the woman as
and the
well.
woman as well. Yes,
Yeah.
it's two ways. It's two ways. And that is why I say this without missing word. Hear me? I am an advocate of that fairness. The Bible makes us to understand there's one thing that I really enjoy, that both of us, we are all equal in every relationship.
Yeah.
What is good for the man is always good for the woman as well. If you say the woman must not go out to defile, you yourself must not go out there to defile yourself. This is the truth. So, and we have to adhere to it. So I just pray and I believe God for every man who is out there, who is going through this, a Christian who is going through this trauma in one way or the other. I'm saying it to you, there is hope. You have to try. Be you a woman, be you a man,
Well,
doesn't matter what. There is a
thank you
hope.
so much, Pastor Larry. That is
Yeah.
so powerful. And
Okay,
one
thank
of
you.
our audience here, Condi Faith, says, thank you, Pastor Larry. You don't know what you've just taught me. God bless you. That's a comment
Thank you.
there from one of
Thank
our
you.
viewers. And
Thank
obviously,
you.
I mean, you're touching a number of people as well as are our guests, other guests. Mercy, I'm going to come to you. Somebody
Okay.
had asked the question, when you were in your relationship and facing those challenges, you're in your first relationship, did you have children at the time? This is a question from Olu Abi. Did you have
Yes.
children?
Yes, I had 2 boys.
So what was that like for you with the children?
Okay, so I also looked at the trauma of raising those kids in that kind of violence all the time, because he wasn't the discreet kind of father that would hit me maybe secretly or in the bedroom when the kids are not there. He would hit me right in the presence of the kids.
In
And
front
I
of the kids?
understood, yeah, so I understood the trauma the kids were going through. Not as much as I do now, but
Mm,
then I still had a little knowledge, like this is really not healthy for these kids. And,
mm,
starving me financially, he was also indirectly starving the children. So he wasn't, living up to his responsibility towards the kids at some point, and he's actually like doing that to hurt me, but he was hurting the children. And so I always look at myself and ask myself, how long will I go on like this? How long will these children stay like this? But I also knew that being boys, he would not let me live with them. But I knew that I had to leave for us to survive, for me and them to survive. So
mm,
I still had to map out my exit plan. And for those watching and thinking, oh, she left and it became easy for her, so it's going to be easy for me, please listen and listen good. There are challenges along the way. And you don't just get up and leave because you've listened to this program this evening, then tomorrow morning you carry your bag and exit.
mm,
You
mm,
must have an exit plan. So for
mm,
me, it took me 3 years to have my exit plan. And part of the exit plan was getting a job. That's the major, major part. This other plan I had was letting my children grow to the extent that when I leave and knowing all the things that will play out, he won't want me to see them, he won't let me call them. I wanted my children to reach a certain age where they can look for me on their own. So even if he's not letting me have access to them, they would look for a way to call me when I'm not there. They will find phones. So I didn't want them to be at a certain age. I didn't want them to leave. I didn't want to really leave them at a tiny when they're like 2 or 3. So I was also trying to buy time. I know anything could go wrong. I could have died during that period of buying time. But I only thought it wise that I should leave at a point where these kids can actually reach out and look for me. So that was another exit plan. And putting those two things together, it took me 3 years. So when I left when my first son was 10, the second one was 8. So, and just like I thought, I left. He didn't want me to have access to them. And then he came, dumped them in my father's house. I started taking care of them. Just when he thought that we had settled, he came and took them again just to punish me. And he stopped me having access to the
So
children.
let me understand this. When you left, did you live with the kids or you
He
had to
didn't
leave
let
them
me.
behind?
He didn't let me live with them.
Okay, so you left them behind initially.
I left the kids behind initially, but he was
Did
not
you
telling
tell
people
them
that.
you were leaving? Did they know you were leaving?
Oh yes, they've witnessed the last beating, because the last incident was that he beat me up and locked me up for 3 days in the room. And
Wow.
he didn't let anybody have access to me. He took my phones. Nobody could reach me. Then of course the kids saw. In fact, it was my son that yelled, "Mommy, look at your eyes!" I mean, I still remember that clearly in my head. That voice still rings in my head every time I see a story of domestic violence. Every time I see those pictures, the words he said that night still come to my head. My son yelled, "Look at your eyes," because my eyeballs, my right eye was almost dropping off. From the punches and all that. So he didn't let me live with them, obviously. But I went to my dad's house and he kept telling people, "Look, Mercy has never stayed without her children. She's going to come back for them. She's going to come back because of the children." And it was difficult, but I made up my mind I was going to go back. So I stayed for 1 week in my dad's house, and he knew that if for her to stay 7 days without these children, that means she's made up her mind. So what's my point stressing over these kids? So he brought the kids and dumped in my father's house. One day we just saw my kids at my father's gate. So we took
Wow.
them in, yeah. And then when he saw that we had settled in, because he took my car, took everything, so I didn't have anything. But I found a way around everything, got a flat, and of course I started working in Zenith Bank, so I knew that my salary would take care of me and my kids. So after like 3 or 4 months, I can't even remember now, he saw that we had settled in quite nicely, that paid for school bus to drop off the children, so I didn't really need a car, and I was taking cab to work. I was really settled. I didn't really run to him for any help, or I wasn't frustrated with the children and tried to come back home, to his home. He came back and took the children from school. So one day I was in the office, I got a call from school that he had come to take the children away. But I thank God that my
So he
kids are
was
with me.
toying with you.
Exactly. He was looking for every weapon to get me to come back. Because that's what they do. They're
Wow.
very manipulative. Abusers are manipulative. So they look at your weakest
Yeah.
point and they try to, use that against you.
I'm interested to know how your dad reacted when you came home.
So before the day I went home, when I started having my exit plan, started planning in my head, I'm going to leave, let me get all these things sorted. The beating was really getting worse as the years were going by. It was at that point my dad came and said I should follow him and leave. And I told him I wasn't
Okay.
leaving. I wasn't ready to leave at that point.
Mm.
And my dad said, "Oh, maybe they're using jazz for you. How can somebody beat you and disfigure you and you say you're staying behind?" He didn't know that, okay, I was at that
You
point,
had
I
a
was a bit
plan in
wise.
place.
I was planning, because he just wanted me to leave and follow him to his house, my dad's
Mm.
house. And I knew that it wouldn't be that easy with the children involved. I mean, if it was just me, I would have left like that. So there are certain things I couldn't communicate to my dad or anyone at that time. It was just things in my head. It was just me and me, myself. So the day I eventually left, when my dad saw me, he fell down on the floor and thanked God that the jazz that was holding me back has cleared in my eye, and he's happy that I'm back in his home. That was his
That
reaction.
that must have been some crazy experience. And for
Yes.
your kids, what did you do? This is one thing that a lot of people worry about, and that I personally worry about for people who are forced to leave a relationship with the kids. When they
Yeah.
have seen that experience themselves, they've seen their mother beat their father, or they've seen their father,
That's
or
what their mother.
they've seen their father beat their mother rather, or they've
Yeah.
seen their mother become so abusive emotionally to their father. So how did your boys get over that trauma? What did you do? How did you help them get through it?
The truth is, I am not sure they've completely gotten over it. Especially
Wow.
my first son.
How
Yes, that's the
old are
truth. I
they
mean,
now?
he's 24 now. He just turned 24 March 22nd, and I do not think he has completely gotten over it. It gets better by the year, but I wouldn't say he's completely gotten over it. And the good part for me is that I married a man who is playing a real father figure role in their life. So he's really helping them through therapy and everything that's necessary to make them a whole being. Sometimes I even get frustrated, like, am I not trying my best? And sometimes I throw tantrums, but my husband has been really supportive. He seems to understand me, my own trauma, their own trauma, and he's been like the soothing balm to all of us. And I think that's one of my greatest blessings right now. Somebody being able to handle us, helping us deal through the trauma. Because for me, yes, I can say I'm healed, but sometimes there's some things that just trigger me. The healing is never total and complete. I don't know
Mm.
for other people, but for me, I don't think you can ever throw back 11 years of experience into the trash and think, "Oh, I've divorced myself from 11 years of experience and exposure." So I feel it's a gradual thing, and that sometimes some triggers bring them up, and you're thinking, "This is not me. Put this thing down."
Wow.
And for the
Taiwo, I'm
kids,
going to come to you now, Taiwo. I mean, thank you so much for holding on there. You've been amazing. You left your relationship as well, your marriage, with 3 kids. Am I right? You said three
Yes, you're
kids.
very correct. You're correct.
So what was it like for the kids at the time? The same question I'd asked Mercy. I'll be interested to know. What was it
Yes.
like for your kids, and how did they get through that trauma?
Thank you very much. Like Sister Mercy said, I don't think we can ever get over the trauma. We don't.
Wow.
We just learn to live by it and then not allow it to affect how we deal with other people. For my children, they were very young then. They were just 1, 2, 3. You know, I always say I did mass production. So for me, it was just the elders that actually sometimes remembers. For the other younger two, they don't really remember. But then they know, oh, there was a man before and now there's another man. I try to, as much as possible, not let them dwell on what will have been or what was. Because the problem of today is that we are dysfunctional parents. We've been through a lot. And then for our children, we are bringing forth dysfunctional parents are bringing forth dysfunctional children in a dysfunctional relationship, and it's now a vicious cycle. So I think the basic thing is for us to imbibe in our children that spirit of love, understanding, and let them know that whatever it is that happened in the past should be in the past. Going forward, they should deal with people as they would want to be dealt with. So for my children, I would say that they are doing well. They are doing well to the glory of God.
I really
But it
thank
can be
God for
better.
you there. I thank God for you there. And I mean, I'm going to bring everybody on here now. Um, the one
They are
thing
doing
that
well.
kind
They
of
are doing
I
well.
noticed
Praise God.
in the
But it can
three
be
of you
better.
is
I thank God for
um
you. And I mean, I'm going to bring
okay, somebody's got their volume playing on. Thank you very much. So the one thing I noticed in the three of you is that there doesn't seem to be any air of bitterness in the three of you. You seem to have let go of the past, and somehow you've been able to move on with your life. Now that
Yeah.
can be a challenge for a number of people. They remain
Yeah,
so bitter because of what they suffered and what they've experienced. How
that's
did
true.
you get to Pastor Larry? I'm going to come to you on this one first. How did you, just in a nutshell, how did you get over being bitter and pained and wanting to get back? Did you ever have that feeling? And how did you get over it?
Well, never have they even, well, occurred to me. Maybe because I am a pastor, I handle it very well for those people who were with me. Many people didn't even know what was going on. That, like, I remember clearly, sometimes I used to cry a long distance and I would still go to preach. But after getting there, I clean my face up, do my preaching, a good sermon, get back home, relax into my bed, I'm fine. The only
And that's
way
what a lot of people are doing. A lot
Oh
of
yeah,
people are covering
a
things
lot of
up.
people are going through it. The only thing that really helped me, like I've said it many a times, I played keyboard, like the music was the thing that really helped me through. Anytime I'm going through that pain and my heart begin to pant, I would just go straight into my keyboard and just play some tune and begin to worship the King of Kings. And for that 2 years, it just fizzled away. But my mind, just like what Mercy was saying there, I'll be honest to say this to you. One of the mistakes many of us has made is the incapability. We are not compatible. We are not really compatible. And most of us are not taught how we can be able to discover if we are compatible before going into any relationship. And when you are not compatible, it doesn't matter what the age size, what the size, it's always going to be a very big challenge as you grow up. So
Pastor
my
Larry,
own,
when you say compatible, right? I
yes,
want us to be very clear on this one that you've just brought up. So when
yes,
you say compatible,
yes,
people say that we all come from different backgrounds, diverse
yes.
backgrounds. And so
Okay.
we're never all gonna be the same. We're all gonna
No,
be different people. And
yes,
so in some way, we will never have the same thoughts, the same views. It might be at different levels.
I agree
So
with
when
you
you
totally.
say compatible, can you
Yes.
explain that?
Fantastic. You see, just like she said there, she was just 18 and she was given to a man who was 50. You see, the range difference is so much. Their thought value is so different. You
Mm.
see, so there is no way you can link them together. They are in a two different world. And this thing is happening so much in Africa. It's happening in Europe as well. When I talk about compatibility, let me just say something. I mean, like, If your husband that you are with today love what you are doing and he's man enough to support what you are doing, there is definitely going to be a total peace in the house. But because of I don't know if it is Taiwo or Messi who mentioned it, that there are sometimes men become so insecure when they see their men, their women moving further than them. And that is where the compatibility coming. When you are compatible, all these things don't come in. You see everything as it were supposed to be. It said both of us were supposed to be like one person. So it doesn't matter who is doing it. When we know and have that basic facts within our relationship, then we are compatible. It doesn't matter who is bringing it in.
It's looking out for that thing that helps you both connect and you have the support. If
That
the
is it.
support isn't there already, this is what we say about the signs being there. And sometimes we don't notice the signs because we're talking about love.
That's
so
it.
If the person is not supporting you, even from the very beginning, and that's a sign, and that's something that shouldn't be ignored. Mercy, I'm going to come to you, and I want you to share. Do you feel bitter at any point? And how, if you did at an initial stage, how did you get over it? How did you heal from that?
Okay, so at the initial stage, yes, I was bitter. I mean, it's only human to feel bitter. I was unhappy with myself, my dad, with my abuser, even with God, because at a point I'm asking God, look, this man married me a virgin. I knew what my mates were doing, and then they ended up with good men that cherished them, that loved them. How come me that was serving you wholeheartedly, how come I ended up with an abuser? So even with God, I was upset. It was even worse when I didn't get support from the church, because the church even excommunicated me when I made up my mind to leave. So I left. At the point I left, I was really bitter. I shut myself out of the world. I wasn't in contact with maybe 95% of the people I knew. Maybe I was only in contact with maybe 5%. I wasn't even on social media. I just needed that time, that me time to clear my head. And I would say, I probably would say I was totally healed after 10 years. And I think
10
I'm still
years.
healing. 10 years. It was after 10 years I started sharing my story. I started talking about my experience, and I decided to start helping other women. So it wasn't an easy journey at all. Not the divorce. For me, the divorce was blissful. I mean, anything was better than being in that house. But the journey of healing and getting the bitterness out of my system. And at the end of the day, because it was also a journey of self-development for me. I mean, remember, I got in there at 18. I barely knew anything about life or myself. I didn't even know who I was, what I wanted for life. So it was also a journey of self-development and self-discovery for me. And when I realized who I was and what I wanted in life, I realized at that point I needed to forgive him, because I needed to forgive him for me, not for him.
That's
Not
true.
for him.
Yeah,
So
I
that
needed
your
to forgive him.
spirit is free and you can move on
Exactly.
with
So I'll
your
be
life.
free and I'll be happy
Yeah.
with myself. So
Taiwo.
another thing he told me when I made up my mind
One
I wasn't
second,
coming
Taiwo.
back, he said something to me. He said, you will crumble like a pack of cards without me. You need me to survive. Without me, you are nobody in life. And I told him, I said, watch out for me. You read about me in the papers. So the motivation to succeed was greater for me. There was no space in my heart for bitterness at some point, because I was so driven to succeed that I didn't even have time to think about him.
And
Because
he's
for me,
certainly reading about you in the papers now.
I'm sure he does. So for me, success was the sweetest revenge. Not trying to hurt him back or try to vilify him or start to say bad things about him in the way he was saying about me. That was the
I
least of my
like that.
problem at that time. Yeah.
I
For
like
me,
that. Success
success was
is the
the
sweetest
greatest revenge,
revenge.
you know. I needed to be
Success
successful
is the sweetest revenge.
so that he would sit back and see that he's not my God, even though he tried to play God in my life, but he's actually not God, that I can actually survive without him. So that was the
Thank you
point I
so
wanted to
much
prove
for
to
that.
him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Success is the sweetest revenge. So, I mean,
That's it.
holding bitterness really doesn't do anything for
It
you.
doesn't help.
Success does a lot for the person. Taiwo,
Yeah.
Yes.
were you bitter, and how did you get over it?
Well, for me, I didn't realize I was bitter initially because I was too engrossed in, taking care of my little children and finding my footing in life. I left his house with 200 naira on me and three children. I had to move to my father's house, and then there, for the first night there, I remember there was no food for me and my children. So I wasn't bitter. I didn't realize I was bitter initially because I was too engrossed in succeeding. You know, like I said, it was like I had set a goal for myself and I knew I had to meet the target. So until I was now, when I attend weddings and I'm just like, look at this one, they don't know what's up. You people,
Mm,
when you start fighting, you realize that there's nothing in marriage. It happened like 3 or 4 occasions. Then I now told my husband, then we were just cutting. I told him, I said, do you know that something happens to me when I attend weddings? This is how I feel. And he's like, you are bitter and you need to stop it.
mm.
And that was when I realized that I was actually bitter. I was actually wishing every other person, evil in their marriages. I was wishing that homes will crumble so that we'll all be at par and we'll be like, okay, all of us, we are divorced. You know,
Wow.
it was when I realized I needed to heal. And to the glory of God,
And
I
do you
cannot
know?
say I've completely healed, but at
Yeah,
least those pangs don't come again as they used to. Sister Mercy said, success is the sweetest
it's the
revenge.
sweetest revenge. Do you know? I mean, the
Yes,
point you made there that you were wishing for everyone who was getting married, for their relationship, for their marriage to crumble, so you will be at par. Do you know
yes,
that a lot of people actually also carry that feeling in their hearts when they
exactly.
find themselves being single and they wish a negative on people? And
Yeah.
Yes.
the best way is to actually remember that you have to move on and that you need to be successful in order to
Mm,
prove that you're a better person. And
yes.
success is the best revenge. I mean, that
Mm,
keeps re-echoing in my head now. Success is the best revenge, not looking
it
back
is.
and wishing the other person bad. But your weapon is to
It's a
show them
success.
that you're a better person having
Yeah.
Mm,
left them. The
mm.
three of you have remarried now. Was that easy for you? Very quickly, where we have just about 5 minutes to try and finish up now. Was it easy for you to remarry? Pastor Larry, in 30 seconds, was it easy
Well,
for you?
it was easy because from the moment I made up my mind, I just said to myself, I have to focus on this goal. Just like I said to you, I'm a family man from the beginning. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a family man. I function well with family.
Mm.
So it was easy as soon as I saw somebody I felt that yes, I'm compatible with. I feel that we can share things together. I didn't waste no time and I just went
And
in.
how long have you
And
been
one thing
married
I
now?
just want to quickly ask them, oh, we are married now for 8 years plus now.
Wow. And what is that relationship like now?
Well, blissful, beautiful, lovely. In short, any name you want to call it is wonderful. Many
I
things that
thank God
people
for
thought
you.
that could never happen is happening.
I thank God for you. Mercy, how was it like for you remarrying? What was it like
Because
for you
this is
remarrying? Was it
everyone to that
easy?
word. We must be shared
Yeah,
to each
getting the
other.
husband was easy. I mean, after I left, I had a long list of suitors because I was still young anyway, and I didn't look like somebody who had 2 kids. I wasn't this big then,
Because
so it was easy to get a suitor. I had to settle for one. I did that prayerfully, and I think I picked the right choice. Staying married was challenging, still a little bit challenging because you know how it is. You're just looking at that guy like you've come again, another bad guy. I had to
Mm,
work on myself, my psyche. I had to, take that thing off myself that every man would not be like my
like
ex.
your
And
first, yeah.
thankfully, yeah, I have
come
a
again,
very supportive and understanding
was
husband.
easy
So when
for me.
certain things happen, he knows where I'm coming from. He knows that I'm coming from the red zone, and he tries to contain me. Other than that, it's been blissful, and I thank God for the man I have today.
And how long have you been married now?
10 years plus.
Wow. Thank
Yes.
God for you. Thank God for that. Taiwo,
Yes.
how was it? What
Yes.
was it like for you remarrying?
Well, I've been married to him for 6 years, but I've known him for like 9 years now.
Mm.
Initially, I thought I was just going to have a relationship, but then when my children kept calling everybody daddy, 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 I knew I had to give them a daddy, and I settled for the best daddy, and it's been blissful all along. It's
That's
been
good.
Oh,
blissful.
wow. Thank God for
Yeah.
that. I really thank God for the three of you. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. There's so much to be taking away from all that you've shared. And I want you to now leave people with one solid word of advice. Anyone right now who is experiencing abuse in any form, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's sexual, whatever it is, whatever form of abuse they're going through in their relationship, one word you want to leave for them to encourage them. I'll start with you, Mercy. One word for people.
My word for people today, and I don't want them to forget this, even if they forget me or my story, they should always remember this, that they do not have any reason to stay in an abusive marriage, because even God hates violence. The same
Mm,
God that they say hates a divorce does not hate a divorcee. So God will not be happy if they stay in a violent relationship, because they'll
Mm.
always come and say, oh, God hates a divorce. Yes, we agree, but he does not hate a divorcee. God will always love you because he also does not love violence. So please don't stay in a violent relationship. Leave as soon as you can. Leave while you're still alive. It's better to leave a marriage in one piece than to take you out in a body bag. So please leave.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for those words. Thank you, Mercy. Taiwo, one word from you, one sentence really, to leave
Thank
people
you
with.
very much. For me, I say if you see somebody in an abusive relationship, please don't leave them. It is difficult to live with an abusive relationship. Lend support and help them. Help them to live while they're alive.
Support is important. I mean, we're sometimes we don't realize that we are the support that people need to
Yeah.
Mhm.
go through that challenge that they're facing at the time. And if they make the decision to leave, there's something they say in Ireland when people get married. They always talk about, oh, having the getaway, you have to have your getaway money. I see there, Pastor Larry, that your beautiful, is it your daughter or your
Yeah.
son has just walked in? Oh, it's great to see them. Hi, guys. So
Yeah.
leave us with one sentence, Pastor Larry. We have just about a minute. Leave us with one sentence.
Anyway, what
Hello,
I
handsome.
yeah, stop. I know what I know is that it's very difficult to live with a contentious and angry woman. And as
Mm,
a man who is out there, if your wife is contentious, if he's angry, you must find a way to work around it, because if it is contentious continuously and is angry continuously, you know your marriage is on the verge of breaking down.
mm.
So I want you to look out for it. Women, please try not to be contentious, try not to be angry, try not to be bitter. I leave this with you. When you are contentious, when you are bitter, when you are angry, you know you are on your way to break down.
Mm. Thank you so much. I want to thank you all so much for being my guest on Sharing with Yemi today. God
God bless
bless
you.
you immensely. Thank you for sharing your stories. And I
God bless
can
you.
tell you
Thank you for having
something
us.
for nothing. I
Thank
know that
you.
you have touched lives today.
Thank
I
you
know
very
that
much.
you've been able to bless people today. It's been an honor having you with us. Mercy,
Thank you
thank you.
so much.
Pastor Larry, thank you
Thank
immensely.
you.
Thank you for being my guest on the show today.
Thank you very
Taiwo, it's
much.
been a pleasure. Thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much. And
Thank
well
you.
done. I want to congratulate you all for all the great work that you're doing in your different areas. Thank you for being advocates for women and even for men in your different areas, wherever it is that you live. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show today. And I want to believe that the experiences and the stories of our three guests today have spoken volumes to you. If you are a man or a woman in a relationship presently, and you're struggling with any form of abuse, remember that the first thing that matters is your life. The first thing is your life. When there is life, there is hope. So you have to remember that you have to come out alive first of all. And then when you find that opportunity to get out with your life, remember that there's another life that awaits you. Because you're a divorcee, it's not the end of the world. We have been tied down by religion and culture and beliefs that make us believe that we are nobodies when we leave a relationship. That is not true. Your life is key. And the sweetest revenge is success. So do not give up on yourself when you leave a relationship. You can be better. And who says you can't? The only thing that can stop you is you. Thank you for being with us and sharing with Yemi today. And I hope that you've been able to take one thing or the other. If you're not suffering any form of abuse, remember that you can be support to anyone around you who is suffering. So please give the support and do not judge. God bless you. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.